Every year, millions of gardeners buy the same sprays, fight the same bugs, and end up with the same disappointing results. What they don't realize is that they're not losing because they're doing too little. They're losing because they're doing the wrong thing entirely. The Amish have been growing food for over 300 years. No synthetic pesticides, no store-bought sprays. And their gardens? Healthier, fuller, and more productive than most. So what do they know that the rest of us missed? In this video, you'll learn exactly how they do it, from the soil up. And stay until the end, because you'll discover one zero-cost technique they use to protect young plants that most gardeners have never even heard of. Before we get into the specific techniques, you need to understand one idea that ties all of them together. Because without it, these methods look like random gardening tips. With it, they become a system. In Amish communities, there's a guiding principle called Gelassenheit, a German word that roughly translates to yielding to the natural order. It means working with nature, not against it. Trusting that if you set the right conditions, nature already knows how to manage itself. Now, what does that actually mean for your garden? Think about what happens when you spray a pesticide, even an organic one. Yes, it kills the pests you're targeting, but it also kills the ladybugs, the parasitic wasps, the ground beetles, and the lacewings. These are the insects that were already eating your pests for free. When you wipe them out, you remove the garden's natural defense system. And now the pests come back, with nothing to stop them. The Amish understood this long before modern entomology confirmed it. Their approach isn't to react when pests show up. It's to design the garden in a way that discourages pests from ever gaining a foothold, and to support the insects that keep the balance in place. That single mindset shift is what separates their gardens from ours. And everything you're about to learn flows from it. The first thing Amish gardeners get right that most of us get completely wrong is the soil. When we see a bug eating our plants, we treat the plant. They treat the soil, and the plant handles the rest. Here's the science behind it. Healthy soil that's rich in organic matter produces plants with stronger cell walls and higher concentrations of natural defense compounds. Research from Penn State and Cornell has confirmed that plants grown in biologically active, compost-enriched soil are measurably more resistant to both pest damage and disease. The plant is literally tougher from the inside out. It's not folklore. It's chemistry. So here's what you do. Every spring, before you plant anything, spread 2 to 3 inches of well-aged compost across your garden beds and work it into the top 4 to 6 inches of soil. If you can get compost that includes aged horse or cow manure, even better. That combination creates an incredibly diverse soil microbiome that feeds your plants at a level store-bought fertilizer simply can't match. The key word here is consistency. Don't do this once and expect it to carry you for years. The Amish rebuild their soil every single season. After 2 to 3 years of doing this annually, you'll notice something real. Your plants will be visibly more vigorous, thicker stems, deeper green leaves, and you'll see noticeably less pest damage overall. Not zero. Nature doesn't promise zero, but significantly less. One practical note. If you're in a colder growing zone, get your compost down 3 to 4 weeks before your last frost date. Your soil biology needs time to wake up before you put plants in the ground. Strong soil grows strong plants, and strong plants don't need you defending them at every turn. Walk past any Amish garden, and it looks a little chaotic compared to what most of us plant. Tomatoes with basil tucked in between them. Dill poking up in the middle of the cabbage row. Marigolds running along every border. It doesn't look organized, and that's exactly the point. Most garden pests, aphids, tomato hornworms, cabbage moths, cucumber beetles, find their target plants by scent. They follow chemical signals that host plants release into the air. It's essentially a navigation system built into their biology. When you surround those host plants with strong-smelling companions, you create what entomologists call olfactory confusion. The pest's signal gets drowned out. It can't locate your tomatoes because the basil and marigolds are overwhelming everything around them. The pest gives up and moves on. Here's how to set this up practically. For every 3 to 4 tomato plants, tuck one basil plant about 8 to 10 inches from the base. Basil repels aphids, whiteflies, and hornworms. Between your rows of cabbage, broccoli, or kale, plant dill or cilantro every 12 to 14 inches. These herbs repel cabbage moths. But here's the bonus. When the dill and cilantro flower, they attract parasitic wasps and hoverflies, which are voracious predators of the very pest you're trying to get rid of. You're repelling one problem while recruiting an army to handle it at the same time. Along the outer borders of your beds, plant French marigolds, the small compact ones, not the large fluffy variety. They release a scent from their roots and leaves that deters nematodes, whiteflies, and a range of other pests. Plant them dense and keep them there all season. You're not just adding pretty flowers. You're building a maze of scent that makes your garden genuinely hard for pests to navigate. Companion planting brings beneficial insects into your garden. But if they don't have somewhere to live and shelter, they won't stay. This is where most well-intentioned gardeners fall short. They plant the flowers, but they keep the rest of the garden too clean. Bare soil between rows looks tidy. But to a ground beetle or a spider, both of which eat pest larvae, bare soil is inhospitable. There's nowhere to hunt, nowhere to hide, nowhere to overwinter. So they leave. The Amish solution is to create what's called an insectary strip, a designated area planted with a mix of flowering plants that bloom at different times throughout the season. Good choices include yarrow, fennel, sweet alyssum, and native wildflowers. These provide a consistent food source for beneficial insects across the whole growing season, not just for a few weeks. Beyond the insectary strip, add a thin layer of straw mulch or allow clover to grow between your vegetable rows. This gives ground beetles, spiders, and other soil-dwelling predators the cover they need to operate. A garden that looks slightly wild in the right places is actually a more defended garden. The Amish understood that a little controlled disorder is part of the design, not a sign of neglect. When you support the whole system, the system manages itself. That's the whole idea. Trap cropping is one of the most underused strategies in home gardening, and once you understand it, you'll wonder why nobody talks about it more. The idea is simple. You plant something pests love even more than your main crops, and you place it far away from what you actually care about. The pests find it first, settle in there, and largely leave your vegetables alone. You're not keeping them out. You're redirecting them. Nasturtiums are the classic Amish trap crop for aphids. Aphids are wildly attracted to nasturtiums, far more than to your beans or peppers. Plant them in a ring around the outer edges of your garden, about 6 to 8 inches apart. The aphids will cluster there. Once they do, you have two choices. Pull the nasturtiums and dispose of them, or, better, leave them and let the ladybugs from your insectary strip come and clean house. That's the full system working together. For flea beetles, which devastate eggplant and young brassicas, plant a row of radishes about 2 feet in front of your main planting. Flea beetles prefer radish leaves. You sacrifice the radish tops. Your eggplants stay untouched. And for squash growers, planting a couple of blue Hubbard squash at the far corners of your garden will draw squash vine borers and cucumber beetles away from your main crop. You're not trying to save the Hubbard. It's a decoy. Its entire job is to take one for the team, and it's very good at it. Plant it once. It works all season. No sprays, no products, no daily labor. All the strategies we've covered so far are preventive. They reduce pest pressure before it starts. But there are seasons, late summer, after heavy rain, when pest populations spike, where you need a direct response. And the Amish have one ready. Their go-to deterrent spray is made from ingredients you already have. Take 4 to 5 cloves of garlic and 2 hot peppers. Cayenne works well, but any hot pepper will do. Chop them up, add them to 1 quart of warm water, and let the mixture steep overnight, at least 12 hours. The next morning, strain it through cheesecloth into a spray bottle and add 1 teaspoon of plain dish soap. Not detergent, just dish soap. The soap helps the spray stick to the leaves and breaks down the waxy coating on soft-bodied insects like aphids. Spray directly on affected plants, focusing on the undersides of leaves where most pests congregate. Apply in the early morning or late evening, never at midday, because the soap can cause minor leaf burn in intense heat. One application typically keeps pests away for 5 to 7 days. Reapply after heavy rain. Now, an important thing to understand about this spray. It doesn't kill pests the way a synthetic pesticide does. It makes your plants smell and taste deeply unpleasant to insects. They move on. It's a deterrent, not a weapon. And as part of the complete system we've built, healthy soil, companion planting, insectary habitat, trap crops, it's usually more than enough. Now, the technique I mentioned at the start. When Amish families transplant young seedlings into the garden, They place a simple cardboard collar around the base of each plant. A toilet paper roll works perfectly. Push it about an inch into the soil, leaving 2 inches above the surface. That's the whole thing. Here's why it matters. Cutworms are larvae that crawl along the soil surface at night and slice right through the stems of young transplants. One pass, plant is gone. They're responsible for far more dead seedlings than most gardeners ever realize. And because it happens overnight, most people blame something else entirely. The cardboard collar stops them cold. It creates a physical barrier they can't cross. And here's the part that makes it almost elegant. Cardboard breaks down naturally in 4 to 6 weeks, right around the time the plant stem has hardened enough that cutworms can no longer cut through it anyway. No plastic, no waste, no chemicals, just a piece of cardboard and an understanding of exactly when a plant needs protection most. There's one more habit that ties all of this together, and it's the simplest one. Walk your garden every morning. Not to spray anything, not to pull everything that looks off, just to observe. The Amish spend a few minutes each morning checking their plants, looking at the leaves, the stems, the soil. They catch problems when they're still small. A few aphids on one plant, handled early, stays a few aphids. Left unnoticed for a week, it becomes an infestation that the whole system has to work to correct. You'll also start to notice things you never paid attention to before. Which plants look stressed before they show visible damage? Where the first pest pressure tends to appear each season? Which companions seem to be working and which aren't pulling their weight? This kind of attention doesn't take long. But over a season, it builds into a real understanding of how your specific garden works. And that's knowledge no product can give you. What the Amish figured out is something modern gardening keeps forgetting. Your garden already wants to protect itself. Your job isn't to fight for it every season. Your job is to build the right conditions and then get out of the way. Build your soil every year. Mix in companion plants that confuse pests and bring in allies. Give beneficial insects somewhere to live. Use trap crops to redirect problems before they reach your vegetables. Reach for a simple kitchen spray when you need direct action. And protect your seedlings with nothing more than a cardboard tube. None of this costs much. Most of it costs nothing. But it does require a shift in how you think about your garden, from a place you defend to a system you support. That's what 300 years of chemical-free growing looks like. If any of this changes how you're thinking about your garden this season, tell me in the comments. I'd genuinely like to know what you try and what happens. And if you're already thinking about getting more from your garden for less, the next video is something most people throw away every single day without realizing what they're wasting. 25 kitchen scraps that regrow into free food. Vegetable ends, seeds, stems, things that go straight in the trash after dinner. That video is right here. Watch it before your next meal.